Screech by Taran NCT on AO3. Episode 34, Chapter 35. Izuku trotted his way to the buses with the rest of the class, only willing to tag along because he knew he'd be able to sleep on the bus. Today was the day the rest of the class was going to be taking the provisional license exam, and Izuku wanted to be there to cheer them on. But really, did they have to get up so early? Problem child. If you don't hurry up, we're going to leave without you. Dad teased. Everyone had already boarded the bus while Izuku was standing there, contemplating the merits of mourning. Izuku blinked at him, and then looked around blankly. Oh. He yawned widely and wobbled his way over to where his dad was standing at the door of the bus. Carry me? He asked adorably, giving his dad the big eyes that he knew he was weak against. Dad only paused for a few moments before sighing in defeat and picking up Izuku, who buried his face into his capture scarf. You better be awake by the time we get to the exam site. I'm not ruining my reputation by having to carry an owl around. Izuku snorted at that and hooted in assessment. As Izuku drifted off to sleep, he thought he heard the dad threat the rest of the class that if they woke them up, he wouldn't let them take their license exam. As soon as Izuku agreed to wake up when they got to the exam, Shouta knew he'd be lying. Izuku was going to sleep through it all, and Shouta didn't think there was much he could wake up. Most of the past 3 weeks, he had seen Izuku sleepy and nodding off while his wings grew, but Izuku had mentioned that the closer his wings was to being fully healed, the more he slept and the harder it was to wake up. Hopefully this meant Izuku would have his wings back in a few days. Getting on the bus with Izuku already falling asleep, Shouta flashed his quirk at the class to get their attention. If any of you Helligans wake up my son, he stated calmly, you will sit out the exam here on the bus. Do you understand me? All 14 set of eyes widened at him and nodded. Good. Shouta then sat in one of the front seats, adjusted Izuku to be a more comfortable position, and fell asleep as the driver started on their way to the exam site. Surprisingly, the Helens did stay quiet enough for Shouta to sleep through the whole ride, only getting loud when the bus was pulling up to the exam location at the National Deboka area. The students all got off the bus, carrying their costume cases, and muttering nervously amongst themselves. Shouta followed, carrying Izuku, who only stirred slightly and gripped onto Shota's scarf when he tried to wake up. Alright, listen up, Hellspawn. If you pass the test and you get your provisional license, then you'll be semi-pros. Shouta locked eyes with them, all briefly. I expect your best. Alright, Dinky cheered. I can't wait to show off what I've learned. Yeah, let's call out the usual. Kirishima yelled out. On my mark, go plus ultra! A kid in a Suketsu hat interrupted. Shouta was pretty sure he remembered this kid from the recommendation exam. He was the kid that got first place in the obstacle course, beating out Todoroki by barely an inch. You know, one of the other Suketsu students who had followed the kid said, it's very rude to barge into other people's huddles like that, Inuasa. I am so very sorry. He yelled out before bowing so low he hit his forehead on the ground. Who is this guy? Dinky asked. I do not trust his enthusiasm. Oh, that's right. Shouta murmured. Yurashi Inuyasha was his name. Yurashi looked at Todoroki, and his excitement seemed to fade. You have that same look in your eyes as your father. Shouta saw that Hitoshi was about to call him out on his rudeness, but then Todoroki spoke up. I would expect so. Yes, we are related. Yurashi seemed to get confused at that. That's not what I meant. If you look closely, Todoroki continued, I also have my mother's eyes. You see? This one is gray. Do they teach you anything about genetics at Tsuketsu? Or have you not gotten to that particular section in your classes? Hitoshi, the ever-faithful shit-stirrer he is, added, I think that's part of the middle school curriculum show. He should definitely have already known that a kid normally has traits from their parents, such as their eyes. Shouta had to quickly turn away from snorting at his son's antics, further ruining what's left of his reputation. Shouta was able to successfully avoid laughing at Hitoshi. However, by turning his head, he caught sight of the last person he wanted to see. He scowled at the green-haired woman who brightened up at the Tsukuichi students left. "Eraser!" she called out. "I know that scowl anywhere." "Joke." Shouta grumbled. "Please be quiet, my son is sleeping." "Aw, Eraser, he's so cute!" She cooed at Izuku. "And look, he looks just like us too! We could totally be our son. How thoughtful of you to adopt a kid that could pass as ours. So, when are we getting married?" Shouta let out a long, sufferable sigh and shook his head. "Never." "You're such a kidder, Eraser." She laughed loudly, and Shouta could see his students were starting to get almost as uncomfortable as he was. They all knew he was already married. Shouta was sure of it. Neither he, Hitoshi, nor Izuku were very subtle about how much they all adored Hizashi. So if any of 1A didn't know that Shouta was married, he'd have to put them through an extensive situation awareness training. "I really was not kidding, Joke. Now please, don't wake up my son." She waved a hand dismissively. "He needs to wake up anyways. How else is he going to participate in the exam?" Shouta glared at her. "He's not. He's here to watch the exams, not to participate." "No, Eraser. Any son of ours is gonna be a hero. He needs to at least give the exam a try," she countered. Just as Shouta was about to reveal that Izuku already has his provisional license, he felt his son stir in his arms. Izuku brought one hand up to his eyes to rub away his sleep, while the other's arm tightened around Shouta lightly. With a little hoot, Izuku looked up at the person making so much noise and blinked at her. "Aw, Eraser, our son is just perfect! Look at him! I just want to pinch his little cheeks." Joke squealed loudly. "He's not your son. Izuku is my son." Shouta glowered at her. Even in his still mostly asleep state, Izuku was able to pick up on Shota's clear annoyance, and he made a noise at Joke that was halfway between a hiss and a screech. "Leave my dad alone." He stirred before nuzzling his head back into Shota's scarf, and quickly fell asleep again. Shouta turned back to his class and gave them a mild glare. "Well, what are you waiting for? There are signs everywhere informing you where to go. If any of you are late, you'll be expelled." That was all the initiative they needed. All 14 students ran for the directions of the locker rooms to change and get ready for their exams. Hitoshi was with the rest of the class in the area, waiting for the exam to start, when he noticed that his dad was in the stands with Izuku, still clinging to him and fast asleep. He also noticed, however, that Miss Joke was a few seats away from him, and that his dad was looking minutes away from murder. Hitoshi winced as he dropped his gaze to Shouta, who had also noticed and was looking at Hitoshi. "He's gonna be in a bad mood, no matter how many of us pass or fail, isn't he?" Shouta asked. Hitoshi nodded in confirmation. "I really wish you had taken her class to another location," Hitoshi murmured. Denki slid next to them and put an arm around Hitoshi's shoulder. "Okay, so I know Sensei usually looks like he's about to skin some of us alive, but today he looks even more pissed. Is it because of her?" "Yeah," Hitoshi confirmed. "Miss Joke won't accept that Dad's married, and she even insulted Pa a few times. Not that she knows who he is. She's only ever met him as Hizashi. She claims she's been after Dad since before he met the blonde homewrecker, completely disregarding the fact that they didn't meet until they had already gone pro." "Damn," Dinky hissed. "But wait, didn't they start dating back in their high school days?" "Yeah, when they were in their first years. They moved in together right after high school. They've always been together. And they've always been gay as hell. Dad's never been interested in her, and no one knows where she even got the idea that he was." Whose dog had he kicked in his past life to deserve this torture? Joke just would not leave. Having followed him to the arena seatings, she had initially sat right next to him, but after he kept moving a few seats away from her every time she followed him, she eventually decided to leave 2 seats between them. Not great, but better than nothing. Shouta had noticed Hitoshi and Todoroki glancing up at him nervously, and he was pretty sure his expression matched his mood. He wanted to smooth out his expression, but every time he started, Joke would say something to remind him she was still there. We should go on a date this weekend. We should go on a date this weekend. No. Come on, you never want to go out with me. How are you ever going to find a time to propose if you never make time for me? She whined. Simple. I'm not going to. I'm already married to the man I love, and you're not him. Joke replied, but Shouta was already starting to tune her out again. The exam had started, and like every year before, everyone was targeting his students. The first attack came, and the kids managed to avoid getting tagged out. Shouta smirked with pride at how well his students worked together. The second attack looked a little harder to dodge, but his students still managed it. The problem seemed to come with the third attack. That one's mine. Joke cheered as a black-haired kid in green placed his hand on the ground and caused an earthquake, finally making Shouta's kids break formation and separate into groups. It seemed the noise of the earthquake had been too much for Izuku to sleep through, since he shifted on Shouta's lap and lifted his head, blinking and rubbing his sleep out of his eyes. Izuku questioned, "What's that sound?" The exam started, kid. Shouta answered, ruffling Izuku's hair. Izuku's eyes widened, and he chirped excitedly. Why didn't you wake me up earlier? I wanted to wish Dinky good luck. Shouta snorted. If that boy fails because he didn't get a good luck, then he deserves to fail. Izuku was in his own seat now, acting like a barrier between him and Joke. Leaning so far forward, Shouta almost thought about grabbing his shirt to keep him from tipping over. I'm sure Dinky appreciates the vote of confidence, Dad. Oh, Eraser, our son is just the cutest. Joke gushed. Who's Dinky? Izuku glanced at Shouta with a look that asked if this was really happening, and then turned to Joke. Why are you calling me your son? Because silly, you're gonna be my son. As soon as Eraser finally realizes how he feels for me and marries me, you'll be my kid. Izuku blinked at her for a solid minute before he tentatively asked, Is this some sort of bit? I know your whole persona is based around jokes, so I wouldn't put it past you. Izuku paused long enough for Joke to seem as though she was going to reply, before steamrolling right over whatever she had to say. Because if this isn't a bit, it's highly inappropriate and definitely could be classified as workplace sexual harassment. My dad is already married, Izuku continued, a fact I'm sure he mentioned to you before. So you're not only harassing him, you're also disrespecting his husband. But I do have one question for you, Miss Joke. Izuku narrowed his eyes at her. What would you think if your roles were reversed? Joke stared at Izuku for a moment before she tilted her head. What do you mean? If there was a woman being constantly harassed by a male co-worker asking her to marry him, go on dates, ignoring the fact that she was already in a very happy and committed relationship, what would you think if some man decided not to accept the fact that this hypothetical woman has said no? Well, that's easy. No means no. He should get over himself and accept her no. Joke answered quickly. Exactly. My next question, Izuku's voice got cold, is why is it okay for a woman to ignore a man's no, but it's not okay for a man to ignore a woman's no? Because that's what you're doing, Miss Joke. You're ignoring my dad's very clear no. But what? No, Eraser just been joking with me. He loves me. She tried to refute. Then why hasn't he corrected me yet? Why did he adopt me with his husband? Why does he even have a husband if he loves you? The answer is, he doesn't. Now, while I'm sure my dad would appreciate if you left us alone, I would also appreciate it if you never tried to claim me as your son again. Please and thank you. Shouta ducked down into his capture scarf to hide the proud smile at his son. That had turned into an accused smirk when Joke simply stood up and walked to the other side of the stands, appearing to get a better view of the students. As Izuku sat back in his seat and turned his attention back to the examinees, Shouta pulled him into a side hug. Thank you, Sue, he murmured into his hair. Shouta had his proud smile fully hidden in his capture scarf as the buds made its way back to UA. Each of the 14 students he took to the licensing exam passed, even Uraraka and Sato. Those two had potential, and it seemed they might have finally understood that if they didn't live up to that potential, Shouta wouldn't have let them remain in class. Every single one of his students had made him proud today. During the initial event, they had broke up into teams of 4 or 3, and one team of 2. Ashiro and Uraka had worked together, managing some combinations that ended up turning Uraka into a high-speed projectile for Sue to throw. Meanwhile, Kirishima, Sero, and Ashiro managed to work together really well. Shouta hadn't been too surprised at the end result of his students' efforts. Hitoshi and Kaminari had been both surprised that they had passed. Kaminari, regardless of all the work he's been putting into his quirk, still occasionally saw himself as an idiot and borderline stupid, regardless of how often his friends said otherwise. At the same time, Hitoshi's confidence occasionally takes a dive when someone new experiences his quirk and calls him a villain. From what he's heard after the test, one of the students from the first round called him that after being eliminated. It's a good thing that they were eliminated because Shouta would have demanded that they'd be disqualified if he had heard that. Shouta looked back at the students. They had all spent so much energy during the exam, and then attempting to convince Shouta to stop somewhere on the way back to school to celebrate, that they had fallen asleep barely an hour into the drive. Amusingly, it was Izuku who was the only one awake, and he was sitting with his friends, running his fingers through Kaminari's hair as he stared out the window contently. Okay, we have very few chapters left. We have 3 chapters left. Oh my god, we have 3 chapters left. Okay, yeah, alright. So, chapter 36, I'm not gonna read ahead. I'm not gonna read like a whatever. Oh, hi, Echo Bro. Mans is quiet, okay. Oh, there you go, you spoke. Oh my god, you know what I just realized? Get over here. Get over here.
What's up? Oh! Yeah, what's up?
Okay, so I was looking at what next fanfiction that's gonna take over this series, like what series is gonna, like what fanfiction is gonna take over this slot, right? The 8 p.m. slot? 8 a.m. slot, my bad. And I was like, alright, well, Little and Broken but Still Good is available. Does that saying, you know, is that familiar to you? Little and broken, but still good?
That's...
Oh my god, you realized it! I didn't realize it till I read this, read the author's note.
And broken, but still good.
I hope you know that I'm making you do the intro for that. You only have to do it once, and I'll just keep using it.
I'm doing that for all of it. I don't care.
No, you're doing it once.
No.
I'm not having you come over here. Sometimes I'd be recording at 3 a.m. in the morning.
So?
What do you mean, so?
I can handle it.
No, you can't.
I can.
No, you can't.
I can.
No, you can't.
I can.
No.
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 I can.
Oh my god. But as I was saying, I find it interesting that joke and this one. I'm guessing Storm bit you?
Oh god!
What did you do to my cat?
He rolled over and fell off.
Well, thank god you catched him, but what the fuck was that catch? It looked like you were holding him by the neck.
No, I was grabbing it by the spine, by the upper torso area.
Okay, that does not make it any better.
Why?
Well, he seems happy. He's alright. He's good.
He's walking funny. What do you mean?
What do you mean walking? He's not walking. He is literally laying down.
Oh, it must be.
Yeah, it's... What? Okay, as I was saying, it's very interesting that in this fanfic, Miss Joke is a harasser. Because I see her being played off as different types of roles because, again, she is only appearing once and we only see her being super fucking annoying. I hate Joke. We hate Joke. Everybody who hates Joke, put a dead emoji in the comments.
The skull?
Yeah, the skull. That's what I said.
You said dead.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No, you said dead.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Dead.
Get out. Alright, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night.
Oh!
Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.